He said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state. I disagreed, but no, this is a progressive African-American owned station, and I'm sure they like you, but doesn't think you can win. What do you say to that?
It's not every day you watch a politician get flambéed live on national TV, but Gavin Newsom just got served hotter than a skillet straight out of the oven. Bill Maher, a guy who once treated Newsom like the golden boy of California, suddenly turned executioner. On his latest show, Maher didn't just criticize. He went for the jugular, torching Newsom's glossy speeches, empty promises, and his failed leadership of the Golden State. The roast wasn't gentle, it was merciless. California may still be burning, but this time, it wasn't wildfires. It was Maher lighting Newsom's career on fire.
Gavin Newsom is the governor of California, home to 12% of all Americans and 50% of all Mexicans. On the upside, Newsom is the only governor, with the possible exception of Kristi Noem, who looks like they could do porn.
Bill Maher didn't just roast Gavin Newsom, he detonated him. He flat out said the governor's greatest legacy isn't policy, progress, or leadership. It's looking like he belongs in the adult film industry. That's not a snarky jab. That's a knockout punch from a guy who once sang his praises. For all the bragging rights Newsom clings to, Maher boiled it down to one humiliating career path. When your biggest fan becomes your executioner, you're not just losing, you're swirling down the political drain.
I don't want to say he really wants to be the guy who steps in if the current nominee goes down, but he gets an alert on his phone every time Biden can't think of a word. The downside is that governor of California is kind of like being conservator for Britney Spears. They'll attack him on California's homeless problem, but there's a response to that. The homeless can live anywhere, but they choose California.
California isn't solving homelessness, it's rolling out the red carpet. Thanks to Gavin Newsom, the state has practically built a luxury package for the homeless, where the sidewalks are free real estate and the laws make chaos look like compassion. But here's the reality. Homelessness hasn't just increased, it's exploded. Instead of tackling the crisis with tough, real solutions, Newsom's policies have turned city streets into tent cities and entire neighborhoods into sprawling outdoor shelters. And it doesn't end there. His soft-on-crime agenda has poured gasoline on California's crime wave. Break the law, chances are you'll walk free with nothing more than a shrug. Homelessness skyrocketing, crime soaring, quality of life collapsing. That's Gavin Newsom's true legacy, wrapped up not in progress, but in pure disaster.
Of course, the knock on Gavin has always been that he's slick. Yeah, you know what? I'm okay with that. I noticed slick is something no one has been accusing Biden of lately. Do you want good at talking or don't you? Newsom is the best communicator in the party with a history of standing up to bullies, and his name lends itself to the best slogan since I Like Ike. I'm having Gavin.
Bill Maher finally said what Californians have been whispering for years. Gavin Newsom is nothing more than a slick salesman in a designer suit. Smooth talker? Absolutely. Problem solver? Not even close. Newsom has mastered the art of rambling in circles, dodging tough questions, and burying failure under rehearsed sound bites. But charm doesn't fix a state drowning in homelessness, crime, and collapsing quality of life. Californians don't need a showman, they need a leader. And if Bill Maher, once one of Newsom's loudest defenders, is ripping the mask off, maybe it's time the rest of America grabs some popcorn and starts paying attention.
I was on KBLA yesterday, with my friend Tavis Smiley. I'm an investor and a supporter of that station. And he said, who do you want for running president? I mentioned, I think you'd be good at the job. Not this year, we know. No, I know. But he said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state. I disagreed, but no, this is a progressive African-American owned station, and I'm sure they like you, but he doesn't think you can win.
Let's be honest, Gavin Newsom's presidential ambitions are about as real as a mirage. After the wreckage he's left in California, not even the slickest PR wizard could spin his record into gold. The Golden State, once the crown jewel of American innovation and prosperity, is now treated like a bad timeshare everyone's desperate to escape. Businesses are fleeing, jobs are evaporating, and wealthy Californians are packing up to avoid funding his reckless economic experiments. Meanwhile, the middle class is being crushed under a cost of living skyrocketing like a SpaceX rocket, fueling an exodus that's breaking records year after year. And here's the kicker. It's not just Republicans calling him out. Even Democrats have started to roll their eyes, branding him too progressive for their taste. When your own side thinks you've jumped the shark, your White House dreams aren't shaky. They're already 6 feet under.
Look at the swing states. There's only 8 of them.
Right. Well, I mean, California is an interesting case study, isn't it? It's the size of 21 state populations combined.
Yeah.
2/3 of the state is very deeply red. We don't need to be lectured on rural politics or border issues. I mean, in so many ways, these are familiar issues, and the issues of the heartland of the United States are very much a part and parcel of the work we're doing in this state. But look, I understand this notion that you're from the coast, you don't understand those things. You can't talk the language. You're not able to communicate.
No, it's stuff like there's a new law in this. I think we have way too many regulations and laws, as we've talked about. And this one, I think, says if you're a department store with over 500 employees, you have to have a gender-neutral toy department.
Yeah.
Bill Maher cut straight to the heart of Gavin Newsom's downfall. It's not just homelessness or the economic meltdown. What's really sinking him is the nonstop woke crusade he's been parading like a marching band. Voters across America are exhausted from having identity politics shoved into every corner of life. And under Newsom, California has become the capital of that circus. The state cranks out laws so absurd they sound like parody, and Maher spotlighted one of the most ridiculous. Any toy store with over 500 employees must now include a gender-neutral section. Because in Newsom's California, kids can't just play. They apparently need to make a political statement while picking out Legos. It's this kind of out-of-touch policymaking that has everyday people rolling their eyes. And when your resume reads like a comedy sketch, your presidential dreams aren't just unlikely, they're laughable.
Too much government there.
That's an interesting one because the department stores came to us supporting that. And they were the ones making a case for that. They were making a case they're already moving in that direction.
Wanted you to make a law about them?
Well, but they supported the legislation. It wasn't legislation that was enacted, that was initiated from my office, but it was legislation that came up with interesting support from the industry itself. But I understand how that's exploited, and good people can disagree. But that's not something we woke up and said, this is a top priority for the state, when we know the top priorities are homelessness, housing, the issues of crime, quality of life, and issues related to regulation and taxes, which are all top of mind.
This is Gavin Newsom's specialty, smooth talk and political theater. He's not clueless about California's disasters. Everyone knows the problems. Homelessness spiraling out of control, crime climbing in every big city, taxes strangling families, businesses fleeing like tourists after an earthquake. None of this is a secret. It's headline news. But here's the problem. Awareness isn't leadership. Knowing your house is burning doesn't make you a hero. Grabbing a hose and putting out the flames does. Yet Newsom hides behind glittery speeches and buzzwords, pretending recognition equals results. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Words don't build homes, stop crime, or fix broken budgets. Action does. And California is still waiting. Then comes the water crisis, a state plagued by droughts, fires, and rationing, while billions of gallons vanish into almond orchards. That's right. Nearly 80% of California's water is swallowed by agriculture, with almonds alone guzzling 1,900 gallons per pound. Residents are told to skip showers and let their lawns die, while corporate farms drink like it's open bar. In a land of fire and thirst, California's water isn't saving people. It's just growing nuts. And through it all, Newsom delivers his flawless Hollywood answers. He talks about modernizing systems and building desal plants with the polish of a salesman hawking snow cones in a blizzard. Every press conference, every interview, he shines like he's reinvented leadership. But peel back the shine, and all that's left is empty theater. California's crises rage on, while Newsom rehearses his next act. Gavin Newsom keeps pretending California is living the dream, but the reality looks more like a nightmare. Crime is exploding, businesses are sprinting out under suffocating taxes, and families are being crushed under the cost of simply existing. Yet somehow, he still manages to dress it all up as progress. Here's the truth. Newsom's talent isn't governing. It's performance art. He's a salesman in a designer suit, rehearsing lines that sound pretty but deliver nothing. Applause doesn't fix crumbling cities, speeches don't rebuild a broken middle class, and polished sound bites won't keep anyone safe at night. But the danger doesn't stop at California's borders. Newsom is as woke as they come. And if America ever makes the mistake of handing him power, the entire country gets dragged into the same spiral. Homeless camps spreading like wildfire, jobs fleeing, crime rising, taxes suffocating. That's the blueprint. That's the promise. California should have been the jewel of America. Instead, it's become a cautionary tale of what happens when style replaces substance. He's mastered the art of glittery slogans while ordinary people drown in the consequences. Strip away the polished media spin and curated image, and what's left is clear. Newsom is a performer, not a problem solver. We've seen this movie before. Obama sold hope, but left behind division. Newsom sold the California dream and left it in ruins. And now, he wants to sell that same illusion to the rest of America. The question isn't whether Newsom can spin the story. It's whether voters are smart enough to see through the act before the curtain falls.